self-care, self-love, it's mandatory. You have to 100%. Do it, because how can you know how to show up for others if you don't love the person that you see in the mirror first?
It's just, you're doing a disservice if you don't do it to yourself first. It's like when you're
about... mental health is higher than it's ever been, okay? There's all these people committing suicide, going through their own internal battle. And so I think that number one, we need to let people know that it's okay to talk about it. But I try and teach, and this is just, everyone, parents different, so this is just what's worked for me, is I always tell both my kids, like, it's okay to feel how you feel. You just have to feel it, and then we have to work through it.
Marcy Siegal, life coach, mother. I know that you specialize in helping women specifically to get where they are to fulfill the gap between where they are and where they want to be. I know that you are certificated in breath work, which is awesome. I recently had an experience on that, and that work is fantastic. Like,
it's pretty powerful.
Discovering a lot of stuff in that matter. You're from New York, recently moved. New Jersey.
Same thing. They're right next to each other.
Moved here 6 years ago to Florida. I just wanted to have you here because we have met a couple times, and it's just wowed me how beautiful person you are, and your mission. I just want to start with that. What is your mission overall?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited that we're able to sit down and have the conversation. But for me, I really believe that my purpose here is to help women close the gap from where they are to where they want to be in all areas, whether that's health, wellness, whatever that looks like for them. I think a lot of times, especially moms, we get so caught up in this role of being a mom that we forget that we were a person first. And I just try and help them, remind them of who they are before the mom, before them putting on this cape of like, I have to take care of someone else, remembering to take care of themselves first. So that's really my mission, is to helping moms and women find out who they are, find out what lights their soul on fire, and live that every day.
Perfect. You mentioned women, you mentioned moms, and also health. So where does that come from?
Yeah, well, so for me, I went through my own health journey. I never really grew up knowing the proper ways to be healthy. I never really played sports. So after having my second child, I had a daughter, and I was like, okay, I need to step up my game, because now I need to show her what it's like to live a healthy lifestyle. So
that's awesome.
I went on like a complete transformation. I learned all about health and wellness. I was able to lose 100 pounds on my own.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which that is like crazy in itself.
100 pounds.
100 pounds. Yeah, 100 pounds.
Wow.
And for me, it was really learning, what did that look like? Like, I didn't just wake up one day and be 100 pounds overweight. So going deep, really uncovering what that looked like.
How can someone do that? Like, because a lot of us, like, we're in a health journey, and, a lot of people, they want to lose weight, and okay, the goal is 20, 30 pounds. I mean, 100 is, it's a lot. But how do you just mentioned something interesting? How do you go deeper on reflecting on what got you there? In the health part, for example.
Yeah, so for me, it was just like really looking back at like, okay, why am I here today? Why am I this weight, right? Because, it happens, it doesn't happen overnight. One day you go to put on your favorite jeans, and now you're like, how do these not fit?
It's impossible to gain 100 pounds.
Right, so it's
on a day, on a week,
100%.
on a month.
Right, so it was obviously over years of like making bad choices, stress eating, emotional. I was a big emotional eater, so when I was sad, I would eat. When I was happy, I would eat. I was using food to comfort. So for me, it was really like, okay, looking back and seeing where in my life did this start? When did this start? What was I using food to help me feel, right? And so
it could come from different sources. It could be because of anxiety, sadness, overall emotional.
And I had all of those, right?
You had all of
those. Yeah, all of them. My parents got divorced when I was younger. Like, I had all the childhood trauma that we hear about. And so for me, it was like I wanted to really uncover it. So first, I learned how to even eat healthy, because I didn't know. Right? And then once I started losing the weight, people were asking me, okay, what did you do? How did you do it? So then I went back to school for nutrition, because I said, if I'm going to help people, I want to help people the right way. And then I started noticing my clients were losing weight, but when I wasn't with them, the weight was coming back on.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I said, okay, I need to get behind the mindset of this. Okay, so why are people gaining weight? Why are they making bad choices? So then I went back to school for life coaching, and I realized it's all connected.
Wow.
Mind, body, soul, it's all connected.
Makes total sense.
And once you can figure out people's triggers and people's whys, you can help them live a healthy lifestyle. And that's really what I started doing for myself, because I was like, I have to be it to give it, right?
So continue in the physical part.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that whatever, it's out here. It's definitely, it's something that started here first. And you see that in yourself. You saw that in yourself,
100%.
and you're seeing that in your client, or seeing that in your clients
Yes.
too. But you mentioned that a lot that got translated on the physical part. It was because of previous situations. Your parents got divorced, and you probably went through a lot of those things before. Now, and you mentioned like going to school for that, and then once you realized that there was more to find out, you wanted to become a life coach. How can someone make the decision of being a life coach?
Yeah, so for me, I moved here in 2016 with my now ex-husband and my 2 little kids. And I just kept feeling like there was something inside of me that I just needed to work on. I needed to do more. And in 2017, I went to a Tony Robbins event called Unleash the Power Within.
Nice.
And for me, that's where I had my breakthrough. I had all these emotions coming up, all these fears, all these limiting beliefs.
You had the 100 pounds more?
No, I was already on my journey.
Okay.
I was already probably like halfway through it.
Okay.
And I just had this crazy breakthrough, and I'm seeing all these people having breakthroughs, and I saw what it did for me, and I was like, I want to do this for other people.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that being a life coach was my calling. I was
That's
supposed
awesome.
to help people, because I always say, you never know how good it feels to feel good until you feel good, right? You're just living your life, but
Yes.
once you start to feel good, now you're like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing my whole life, right?
100%.
Yeah.
You don't have any other parameters to compare it with.
Right,
And that happens
exactly.
in all aspects. It's like we go through life without having parameters. And being in those events, it's what makes you experience something different. And
Right.
especially being a group of people that where you seeing that they struggle with similar stuff or even stuff different than you, and they still have breakthroughs. You mentioned breakthroughs. So for you, after that event, would you say that you had one of the biggest breakthroughs in your life?
100%. And I think for me, and for anyone, when you go to these events, you're immersed, right? Whether it's 3 days, 2 days, whatever it is, you're immersed in this room with all these people that are there for the same reason.
Yeah.
So the real magic happens when you leave and decide to keep doing the work. Because a lot of people go to these events and they're rah-rah and they're so excited, and then they go home and they go back to their old ways.
Yeah.
So it's really making the decision that like, it ends now. I'm going to burn the boat. I'm going to take the island, and I'm going to change moving forward. And so for me, that's what I did. I said, I didn't spend 3 days away from my kids, spending all this money, all this time to go back to how I was. So that event really made me skyrocket into everything I wanted to do and everything I wanted to become. And it made me believe that the only person holding me back was me.
Yeah.
Right? That no one else was coming to save me. I needed to be my biggest hero, and that I needed to do the work for myself so that I can do it for others.
So would you say that you're living proof when some people say that you can have a breakthrough moment, just one moment can change your entire life?
100%.
Because it's easier to say,
Yes.
it's like one moment.
Yeah, I think for me in that one moment, it was like I realized like I had abandonment issues. That was my biggest thing I realized at that event. And then that showed up for everything in my life. The type of person I married, the type of, everything I did was because of that. So once I realized that and was like, I can heal it, that was my breakthrough. It was like in that moment, having that realization that like, okay, everything was stemming from that. And the minute I acknowledged it, healed it, and moved through it, I was able to do anything.
Yeah, and that moment for me, for example, was, I told you that I recently experienced breath work, and I had a moment, and one of the things that inspired me to do this, it was because of what I saw in that moment, which is crazy. It's kind of freaky, but it was powerful. How have you seen that a lot in the breath work that you done yourself and to your clients too?
Absolutely, because I think, and the thing that I love so much about breath work, and especially somatic, which is what I practice, which is allowing you to heal trauma.
What is the difference between somatic
So with somatic, it's allowing you to heal trauma through breathing. So what I love about breath work is we're so busy, right? Go, 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 that we don't stop to listen to ourselves, to listen to our gut, because our gut always knows. And breath work allows you to get super quiet and connect to yourself. And so all these hopes and dreams that you have deep inside, they come out during breath work.
By just breathing.
By just breathing, because you're only focused. You're not focused on like my job, my wife, my kids, what I have to do. This person likes me, this person, you're only with you, with you and your breath. So if you are able to surrender and really be present in breath work, it allows you to have the most beautiful breakthroughs because you're connecting to you.
So you said that breath work is to work on past traumas.
There's all types, but that's what I focus on is somatic, which is trauma breath work.
And that's the difference between that one and maybe the Wim Hof method. Like what are the other methods focused on?
Well, a lot is just allowing you to clear your mind, right? Or start your day. If
Some sort of meditation.
Yeah, meditation. If you have anxiety, breath work really helps with that. Just really getting yourself grounded, calming. There's so many different aspects of breath work, and it's just fine. I tell everyone you should start your day with breath work. You don't need to go into a whole...
I was going to ask you, because obviously you're a coach on that, and people have sessions with you, and which is probably the most powerful way to experience it. But if somebody wants to implement some of that on a daily basis, what would be like a basic routine that you can implement?
I tell people everyone's day is so different. Even if you have 3 minutes, right? For me, I tell people before you even get out of bed, put your hand on your heart, take a couple deep breaths, and just say, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm blessed, I'm loved, and I'm safe. Just connecting to yourself can start your day right. Obviously, if you could do 10 minutes, that's beautiful, just starting your day.
Complicate it.
But I tell people, when you overcomplicate it, people don't want to do it. They say, I don't have the time. That's with anything in life. So if you have 3 minutes, you can still start your day beautifully if you just take 3 minutes to breathe. I like to do it in the morning, and then I do it before I go to bed. That's how I start my day and end my day.
Specific posture that you need to, because I did one this morning. I did it kind of like walking and stopping. Is that a good way to do it? Is it recommended to be sit down?
I think personally, yes, it's sitting because you're not focusing on anything else. If you're walking, you're making sure you're walking. You're not walking into. So for me, I say find a quiet place.
So the purpose is just to focus on the breathing.
Yes, exactly.
If you can cancel anything else,
everything
noise,
out,
environment, any other sense, do so. So that way, just focus on breathing.
I think just focus on breathing. For me, I like to, maybe light a candle, find a good playlist that you like. There's so many. You find what connects with you because everyone's different. But really just finding a quiet place that's your space in your home. You could do it outside. I like to do it outside so I'm getting fresh air. But wherever it is for you, but just taking those 3 to 5 minutes, if that's all you have in the beginning, and just connecting to your breath.
Perfect. So you're somebody, obviously, that after, all these breakthroughs that you had and all these changes that you made in your own life, I feel that you're curious for knowledge. You're always, every time that I talk about a book, it's like, I already read it. It's like, man, she already read everything that I tell her. It's all the opposite. You're always, telling me speakers, books to read about. So my question to you is, how would you when people see you and use the word maybe obsession with personal development, because I've heard that word, I've used it myself. I don't like it because it could have like a negative connotation. Would you call yourself obsessed with personal development or passionate? Because I feel that I am. I love to read about it. Probably do 2 books per month just of personal development. I feel that everyone should do it to go through life. It's necessary. What do you think about that?
For me, I feel like it's part of my life. I'm very passionate.
Call it an obsession.
No, I would not call it an obsession. I would just say it's part of my life. Just like people love reading thrillers or they love watching comedy shows, I like learning about myself and growing. And I also
transpire. Right. When I could see the excitement every time that I talk to you. You know what I mean? and but somebody else that is going through life and just go through consuming content just for entertainment might see me and interpret her excitement like, oh my God, her life is just perfect. Okay, perfect.
And I think that I believe I'm always growing, right? If we're not growing, we're dying. That's how I believe. And so I feel like I love personal development because you're getting this knowledge and then you get to apply it.
Yeah.
Because knowledge is just knowledge if you don't do anything with it. Applied knowledge is where the magic happens. And for me, I want to learn as much as I can because I've only been on this earth for 38 years, right? There's people have come before me that have learned so much. So if I can learn and then help others, that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do with all this personal development. So that's why I love it so much. Reading the books, listening to the podcast, going to the seminars, because you get to learn 100%. And it gets to help you become a better person day 100%. In and day out.
And I have witnessed that. Like since I met you, I follow you on social media, like you wake up every day, what time?
Between 4:30 and 5.
4:30 and 5 every day.
Every day.
Even on weekends?
Yeah. Well, I feel, and I tell everyone, like, disclaimer, I'm a single mom with 2 little kids. So
you have all the excuses in the world.
But for me, I know how important it is to pour into myself first. So if I don't get up, I won't have the time because once my kids are up, I want to be present with them. So for me, if I'm not showing up for me, how do I expect them to show up for them?
Yes.
And I'm not giving them the best version of me if I'm not doing my morning routine, which is praying to God first, journaling, meditation, breath work, and working out. And that is what my morning routine looks like.
You do all of that every morning?
Every morning.
Wow. And the purpose is, like you said, to pour into yourself first.
Yes.
What does that mean, pouring into yourself?
Yeah. I think, so many times people are giving to everyone else, but they're not giving to themselves first. Yeah. And I've noticed in my own personal life that if I don't take care of myself, no one's getting the best version of me. My kids, my clients, my friends, my family. Yeah. And that's not fair to them, right? And it's not fair to me to give to everyone and not give to me first. Yes. I always tell people, you have to tend to your own garden, right? Yeah. We're so busy helping everyone else, but we don't help ourselves first. And so for me, I think that pouring into your cup is something that is a necessity, right? Yeah. I tell people, self-care, self-love, it's mandatory. You have to 100%. Do it because how can you know how to show up for others if you don't love the person that you see in the mirror first?
It's just, you're doing a disservice if you don't do it to yourself first. It's like when you're about to depart from a plane that they tell you, they give you the instructions, is push your mask first before helping the person next to you. Because if not, there's no point, there's no way. So that's kind of like the best analogy for that. And I truly believe that. I just finished reading Think Like a Monk with Jay.
Such a good book.
Such a book. Yeah. Such a great book. And the fact that, the experience that he went through being a monk, and you talk about, pouring into yourself and spending time with yourself first, which is what you do in the morning. It could be meditation, praying, writing in a journal. You don't have to do all of them.
No.
If you can do as much of those, even better. But what I've been noticing that a lot of successful people do, and success I don't necessarily mean in business or, money-wise, but it's that. It's being able to spend time with yourself. That's kind of like one of the most, and I describe it while I was writing something, one of the greatest free gifts that God gave us. The fact that we can get to spend time with ourselves. And it's probably one of the things that we do the least. Yeah. As soon as you get through those doors, or even before getting out of the door, it's like there's so much noise.
So much noise.
The first thing that we do is just pick up our phones when we wake up. And it's like start seeing other people's life, and it's like time just flies. Yeah. And we don't take that time to be able to. Again, it's as simple as spending time with yourself. There's so many ways to do it. And
I think, too, a lot of times people are scared to spend time with themselves because maybe they don't like what they see or hear when they get quiet.
I want you to talk a little bit more about that.
Why? I think that so many times, people are spending so much time on social media because they're seeing these lives that they want to live instead of getting quiet and seeing how they can live that life. Like you're spending hours scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and looking at the house and the life and all these people, but you can have it. But people are scared of what they see. They don't want to do the work because I always tell people that when you go on a transformation journey, it's super lonely because you have to get very comfortable with your past, the things you've gone through. You have to spend time forgiving yourself, connecting with yourself, and people don't want to do that.
Yes.
So I always tell people, when you're going to start this journey, get ready to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Get ready to cry. Get ready to see things that you don't like about yourself, but that's all part of growth.
Yeah.
But people don't want to do it because it's scary and it's uncomfortable.
It's Jay in the book, he says that meditation, it's what allows you to become what you want to be, but also shows you first what you basically what you don't want to be.
Yeah.
The stuff that you know that you got to work on yourself, to your point. And so based on your experience with clients, like, people usually escape. That's why they look at social media. It's kind of like a way to escape from their own reality and try to picture themselves and living through other people's life, which at the end, it's kind of like going through a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And what are the most common escapes that you've seen that people use to
I think social
avoid
media
the
for sure. Drinking, food, they'll do anything that keeps them from connecting with themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they want to shut that part off.
Relationships.
Yeah. You know,
a toxic relationship.
Oh, I've dealt with so many people in it. And the biggest thing I tell people, and I know every situation is different, right? Some situations are super hard to get out of, but what I tell people all the time is, like, you get to decide, right? Like, you get to write your own story, and you can change it at any time. Like, you could decide, like, nope, this next chapter is not going to look like the last, and rewrite it.
Yeah.
But you have to decide you want to do it. And know that, like, it's going to be hard, it's going to be scary, but between you and God, you can change your life in any way, at any time.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you one that I've seen in multiple people that I know, even traveling. Traveling usually is an experience that you enjoy, but when you like to travel to avoid what your current situation is at home, and you find a trip like a way to escape, that is not healthy.
No.
So even good experience that we think that are good experience for ourselves, when you got to sit down and analyze it to know if it's something that is serving you or if it's something that is serving you as an escape.
100%, I couldn't agree more.
Have you find stuff like that where people can relate activities or hobbies and stuff that you're like, there's nothing wrong with the actual activities, but you know that the only reason why they do it is to try to escape?
Yeah, 100%. Or people keep themselves so busy so that they don't have to focus on them. Oh, I can't, I have this, my kid has 12 sports, or this, or I have a meeting, or I told my girl, it's like, no. Like, you have to, I always tell people, start saying no to protect your yeses.
Yes.
That is a big thing that people need to learn to do.
When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another.
Yes, and a lot of times you're saying no to you. Like, okay, if you said I'm going to work out today, right? Or I'm going to meal prep today, or I'm just going to spend time with me, and then someone calls you, and you don't even really want to go, but you feel like you have to go.
Yes.
Now you're saying no to you to say yes to other people.
Yeah.
So I just always tell people, start raising your standards of yourself. Of what you want for yourself and your life, and everything starts to show up differently the moment you do that. 100%. Because it doesn't matter what other people think of you. That's not your job. Your job is not to worry about what they think of you from the past, the present, the future. Your job is to worry about what you think of you.
Yes.
Because it's only you and you. You come here with you and you leave here with you.
100%.
So you got to work on that relationship.
That makes total sense. So you're a life coach. You deal with people's problem. What is the difference, or the main difference, between a life coach and a therapist?
Well, I think that for me, I do more the holistic way. So I really help.
There's different types.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and there's some things that I will tell someone if it's, maybe really with substance abuse, or if they're in a really bad abusive relationship, I will always refer them to go to a psychiatrist, a therapist, because maybe they need something that I can't provide. So I always like to gauge my clients and see where they're at, because I don't think that I could do everything for everyone. And I think that's the beauty of having so many people in this industry, that there's someone for everyone. But for me, what I've noticed for me is that I can really help people remove whatever blockages they have. Okay. And so a lot of times it's really that simple as just reconnecting to you. And helping people, especially women, because they're so busy helping everyone else that they forget to help themselves first. So for me, I feel like that is my sweet spot, is being able to help you look in the mirror and love the person you see, and then give you the tools to get there, the tools and the steps, you know. And I always like to start with having people write a letter of what their perfect day looks like.
Yes, that's
because
good.
just doing that letter tells me so much. Because a lot of times people's letter is so minimal because they're scared to even dream.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is your dream and you're even scared to dream. So for me, that's usually like the step one is like, what would your perfect day look like without any fears, don't worry about the finances, don't worry about the how. The how will show itself. It always does. Once you get very clear on what you want, the how will come later.
Nowadays, I feel that we all underestimate the power of putting things in writing, you know? Even taking notes in general, but it's like the fact of like whatever is here, like just putting in writing, physically in writing. Like not even your phone, like physically writing. Nowadays people have forgotten how to write.
I know.
That's crazy. But it's like the power of that in all aspects. When it comes to visualization, when it comes like just laying down whatever you went through your day. It's kind of like one of the most powerful and simple way to identify what you were saying, analyze yourself and make any type of changes. Do you have you mentioned women and you work mostly with women. It makes total sense. You yourself went through a similar path. Do you have any stories of your clients that you can share? Successful story. I'm sure that you have plenty.
I mean,
one that is like, this is a very good example that happens often where women can lose themselves by being a wife, being
absolutely.
a mom.
I have a client, actually today we celebrated that she's down 35 pounds.
Wow.
And I did a post, but I said it wasn't just the weight because she let go of so many other things. And I remember when we first met and I asked her, what do you like to do for fun? And she just started crying because she couldn't even remember.
Really?
Because she was so busy being a wife and a mother that she forgot. And so the first thing I told her to do is, okay, your first assignment is to go book something, whether it's an art class, Zumba, whatever it is, go do something fun, because we forget to have fun. And that's anyone, men, women, like we forget. We go from being a child that has fun all the time to someone telling us, don't do that, you're not a little kid anymore. And we stop having fun and being kids. So for me, watching her transform in all areas, so now she has hobbies. She takes the time for herself. She's able to lose all this weight. She's reconnected with her husband. They've built a better relationship. She has a better relationship with her child now. And so like, it's because she started the relationship with her.
She feels better and she transmits that
and
energy.
She's standing up for what she wants and for herself. And I always tell people, like, when you go through a transformation, it doesn't mean you have to leave everything and everyone. You can transform with your spouse, with your friend. You can do it with them. Sometimes maybe not, but sometimes you can too. But you just have to transform your life from within first, and then everything shows up differently on the outside.
Yes, and you gotta know yourself. And there's great, I've found throughout the years, there are great tools that can help you get to know yourself better. Relationship books, for example. A couple that comes to mind, the 5 Love Languages.
It's my favorite book.
It allows you to know yourself and also your partners and your relationships around you. I'm about to finish one called Attachment. You probably know.
I just finished it actually.
So my wife shared it with me, and it's that one. I mean, I was telling her that the 5 Love Language is a great tool, but this one took things to another level.
Which one's yours?
What do you think? Which one do you think?
I don't know. Mine is anxiety attachment.
Anxiety.
That was mine. I already knew.
Mine is avoidance.
I knew that.
So, and I could see but it's like, we know that because we already look at the book. And you might think by reading the 3 attachment styles, just by the name, that you know what it means. You gotta read the book to understand.
It's so good.
And especially even before starting in a relationship. It's like, even
when you're in one, starting before, but even when you're in one, because then you're like, okay, now I understand why I'm showing up this way. And then, and also like communicating it to your partner. Because I think a lot of times when you read these, then you're embarrassed to say this is you.
Yep.
But if you tell like, okay, listen, if I text you and you don't text back this is what's going through my mind. Nothing wrong with you, but this is how I am. Or if you text me and I don't respond, it's nothing wrong with you. It's because I'm avoidant. So like, I think having that open communication with your partner on like, this is how I show up in a relationship is so much better, because they're not mind readers, right? And that's a lot of times. Have you read the 4 agreements?
I did.
Okay, so one of them is don't assume, right? And so a lot of that shows up in relationships, because I'm mad that you didn't bring me dinner home because you knew I would be hungry. But how can I assume just because I would have done it? And so like, that's a perfect example of how when we're assuming the way someone else should show up.
And then you start expecting from the other person to react. So
the way you would. But your job isn't to show up how I show up, and my job isn't to show up how you show up.
So there are tools.
Of
you know what I
course,
mean?
there's so many tools out there. You just have to be willing to put in the work.
First of all, it's like find the tools and then read it. And then read it together, because if you're in a relationship or you want to be in a relationship, it doesn't matter if you read it by yourself. The other person needs to understand too.
Right.
If not, there's no point. And also apply it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Applying is huge. And I think a lot of men, women, everyone, like, people are very scared to be vulnerable. Right? Because especially men, when we're little, you guys are told don't cry.
Especially men with an avoidant personality like myself.
Right.
I'm aware. It's true.
But, you know, and I think that's, so for me, I'm raising a son. And so when he cries, I'm like, it's okay to cry. Let's talk about it. You know, and then when he's with his dad tells him don't cry.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
So his dad says don't cry. Really? And you said it's okay to cry. How do you navigate that in a young boy?
Yeah. You know, for me, what I try and teach, and this is just, you know, parents different, so this is just what's worked for me, is I always tell both my kids, like, it's okay to feel how you feel. Yeah. You just have to feel it, and then we have to work through it. Like, that just can't be your reason for everything, like your go-to. Like,
but you got to let the emotions.
You have to let them out. You have to. I always say you have to feel to heal.
Yeah.
If you don't feel it, you can't heal it. Whatever that looks like. And it might not make sense to the other person, but it makes sense to you. Yeah. So if they really hurt your feelings and it makes you want to cry, they can't tell you no, don't cry. Yeah. They're not you.
That's
and
powerful.
So I think that's a lot of times is that, you know, when someone is super upset or they're angry, we as the other person tell them not to feel their way. But it's not our job to tell someone how they should feel. Let them feel their feelings, deal with it however they want, and then you guys can maybe talk about it later.
Regardless of the gender.
Regardless of the gender.
You got to go through the emotion.
100%.
And if the emotion is telling you that you want to cry, you have to cry.
Yes.
That is so powerful, and that is something that I've been learning recently for myself too.
Yeah,
I mean, I come from a background, a culture. You know, there's machismo. You probably heard the term.
Very well, yes.
And men are taught to be men, and men don't cry. And you know, the less emotion you show, the more of a man you are. Yeah. That's kind of like the culture.
Right.
And it has served me for some stuff, but I've come to realize that it has also, you know, bring some damage in some other areas in my life too. So the fact of being vulnerable, you know, doesn't make you less of a man. No. So it's powerful that you said that, because you start teaching from that age, from young. Yeah. And the fact that you explain that, because again, we are exposed to society, and society is going to tell us one thing different than what mom is telling me. So you're teaching them to be vulnerable. Yeah. But that is not, but also showing them that is not a weakness.
100%. I personally think it's a strength. And I think that when we as parents allow our child to be whoever they want, that's so beautiful. Perfect example is my son plays flag football. He didn't want to play regular. He didn't want to do contact. And, you know, I had people in my life saying, come on, you need to play. You need to learn how to.
That's what's gonna
but why? You don't.
That,
if he doesn't want to, if he wants to pull a flag and cheer his friends
Still
on,
a sport.
you know, like I encourage my kids to show up however they want. Yeah. And that's a big thing that for me, I feel like I'm setting them up to succeed in life. Is you show up how you want. Yeah. It doesn't matter what other people say, however you want.
You know, making some sort of damaging anybody in any way, like it is what he wants. It's
Yeah.
not also that people think because you're letting them to be whatever they want to be or do whatever they want to be, like you're pushing them to do something. And it's not the
Well,
same.
I think it's the opposite, because a lot of times you're pushing your kids into sports and they don't even want to do it, and you
Yeah.
don't even ask them.
Yeah.
You're living a dream that you had, maybe, of being a football player,
why.
being a cheerleader.
That's
and now,
exactly why.
Right.
Yeah. I always wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
I'm Dominican, and
Yeah.
Dominicans, that's what we do. We play baseball. And every time that we know we don't have kids yet, but it's like every time that the conversation comes of what type of sport would you want it to put in, it's like baseball. Like, no question. But I don't know if he's going to be, if he want to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if he wants to play an instrument instead of going to sport.
And as they learn, as they grow, they learn. Like, I played softball growing up, so I wanted my son in baseball, and he had zero interest.
Yeah.
Soccer, football, those are his sports. I'm like, okay, great, you can do those things, right? My daughter's playing volleyball. I never touched a volleyball a day in my life, but this is what they love.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to push what I want for them. I'm going to let them show up how they want and experience things and create a life that is right for them.
That is so powerful. How do you what would you say are tools as a mom that you can use to navigate those situations with kids? What are the most powerful tools that you use yourself to be able to raise your kids?
Well, for me, first is healing for myself. Because I think that if moms don't, then...
So it comes back to the fact that you gotta take care of yourself first, regardless.
Yeah, but also, I mean, there's so many podcasts that I listen to with like amazing childhood psychologists, childhood therapists. Like, I follow so many people, and they give such great tools on, like a perfect example was this one therapist was talking about. She went to the store and told her kid, we're buying your cousin a birthday present. And the kid wanted a toy and was having a meltdown.
Yeah.
And most parents would just be like, stop acting like that. And instead, she says to get to your kid's level and say, I understand that this must be really hard for you. Someone else is getting a toy and you're not.
Yeah.
I promise you that when it's your time, you will get a toy, but today isn't your toy.
Yes.
And then you're acknowledging their feelings, and you're telling them they're valid, but it's not the time.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's like one of the biggest things that I try and do is like learn from these therapists, these doctors that teach you to validate how your children feel, and then set the boundaries and let them know, there's a right time and a right place.
I think that's what you just said right there is what makes the difference between a parent and an intentional parent.
Yeah.
There is a difference. There's, anybody that give birth of a kid, it's a parent.
Yeah.
But somebody that put that, because that takes a lot of work. The screaming, believe it or not,
that's easy.
That's the easy part. Like screaming, it's only one time. Maybe slapping, if that's the way that you parent, like grab them or whatever, that's the easy part. You think that is hard because, you're letting your emotions go. But now, you say yourself, and I've heard that before, going down to their level and having that conversation, acknowledging their feelings and explaining why yes, why not, that's what takes work. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence on your end. It takes more time and effort. So that is powerful, and I do believe that parents that are able to navigate those situations like that, and of course, I'm not a parent. There are gonna be situations where it's like you're not emotional in the right place.
Yeah, and of course, there's always times when like you're in the moment and you're not like, okay, hold on, let me stop. Okay, sometimes you're just in it, but then the best thing you could do is apologizing to your kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're in it and you say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell, I was overwhelmed. And then you're letting them see how you feel too.
Apologizing to your
and
kids.
A lot of parents don't like to hear that, but for me, it's like, I want to always have an open relationship with my kids, and showing them that I'm not perfect is part of it.
That's awesome.
If I'm having a bad morning, or if I will always say, okay, I'm sorry, Mommy was just overwhelmed, or I was a little it's not your fault, right? Letting your kids know, because you're their biggest hero. It doesn't matter what kind of parent you are their biggest hero. So if you do things that like crushes their souls, that stays with them because they look up to you. So being able to take in those moments where you go and say, I'm sorry, or it's not your fault, or I didn't mean that, or you didn't do anything wrong, that is, I think, one of the best gifts you can give to your kids.
I think it's leading by example. It's like how many times, they do, because they're kids, they're always messing up, and there's like, apologize for this, apologize apologize for that, but how many times as a parent are you apologizing to your kids?
Right, exactly.
It's like and parents are aware of that whenever they screw up, when they messed up, when they speak in a tone of voice that is not right, when they don't handle situations right, but apologizing just shows so much. That is so good. That is so good. And wow, it's been amazing. So what is a great book on parenting? I want to learn myself.
Yeah, there's so many.
What would be one that has like the basics?
I mean, there's like, okay, for me, like there's so many What to Expect, all those books that I don't believe in. Not like there's anything wrong with them, but I think they put too much pressure on the parent.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh my God, my kid is at this month and isn't walking. So I am not like a big fan of those books because I feel like they make you feel bad as a parent because you're not showing up.
Yes.
There's a book called Tools that's really good. There's a book that's called, there's What to Expect, there's the 5 Love Languages of a Child.
Which is written by Gary Chapman.
It's the same author, and it talks about that because then it allows you to understand your kids.
Yes.
Right? So for me, that one, I've read it so many times because I feel like as we know our love languages, but like if we don't understand our kids, it's very hard to communicate to our kid because we don't understand what they're going through. And for me, it's like I always tell people that like once you become a parent, you should, if you're not already, you should be in therapy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need someone else to help you look at how, sometimes you need an outsider to help you when you're going through it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, whether you're a single mom, a single dad, a married couple, like getting in therapy because you don't know.
Yeah.
You've never been a parent before and they've never been a kid before. So you're all learning together.
That is something that I always, since I started experiencing myself and going through it, like I always recommend that everyone should go to have a therapy at some point in their life.
100%.
Obviously, you need it more times more than others. But just having somebody, do not wait to life to get chaotic to go to someone. There's feelings and emotions that we just gotta go through it.
Yeah.
I remember one of the conversations that we had in the past, because you're a life coach, you were defining therapy as, the person that you usually go to work on previous or past traumas, and a life coach is somebody that helps you go through to your future life. And we all have different stories, and we all have our own traumas. It could be coming from a abusive relationship, divorced parents, even losing a parent. Like in my case, I lost my mom when I was a kid, and I always it wasn't until I'm being an adult that I realized that I never went through those emotions, and even myself, like I didn't process that correctly. And I feel that my dad didn't allow me or my siblings to go through the process the right way. And I feel that not having that figure in my life, like I suppressed those feelings and made me, what we were talking about earlier of suppressing emotions and being less of an emotional person, which has served me in some areas of my life. When you're in business, negotiation, not having emotions allows you to think in reason, facts. But then on the relationship parts with family, friends, my wife, it's like not being able to express emotions. It can bring you trouble. So that is so powerful. And when you mention therapy, when would you say that you mentioned, for example, as soon as you become a parent, that's definitely one stage.
If you're not already in it.
If you're not already.
Yeah, I mean, I started when I was young. Right, I have my kids in therapy because they're from divorce. They have things that sometimes you can't talk to your parent about. So I think that everyone should be in it, right? Like, and maybe some people go more often than others, but like, it's so powerful to have someone else that isn't related to you, that isn't a friend, that can come in.
That you feel comfortable.
Yes,
no
because
judgment.
a lot of times you know, when you talk to a friend, they either want to tell you what you want to hear, or they're coming from their
that is powerful.
their own traumas too.
Friend is, you know, you got to be super careful.
Yes.
A friend cannot be a therapist.
And therapists are neutral. That's what I say.
Yes.
They're neutral. So they're just here to help you and listen.
Yes, they're professionals.
Yeah.
Like they hear these issues often. You're not the only one sitting in that chair.
Yes.
It's like in that chair, it's like just multiple people during days with, yes, multiple situations, but overall, when they see a macro, they can literally have different categories.
Yes.
So they're so easy to assess what your situation is, what the proper way to approach it.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that it's necessary, and it's something that I encourage anybody to go through.
And look, right now, mental health is higher than it's ever been.
Yes.
Okay, there's all these people committing suicide, going through their own internal battle. And so I think that number one, we need to let people know that it's okay to talk about it.
Yep.
And whatever that looks like. For a perfect example, I met someone at church and she's in recovery and she relapsed. And so I see her every week. I didn't even know any of this about her, but every time I see her, I just say hi. And last time I said hi, her response was a little different. So most people would have just kept walking, but me, I like to connect. So I pulled her to the side and I asked her what's going on. And she told me that how she relapsed and how she hasn't been going to meetings and her parents don't support therapy or any of that. They don't believe in medication. So you know what I did? I said, okay, tomorrow we're going to a meeting. And I went with her to an NA meeting. And just having someone there to sit and support, you know, she's like, you didn't have to come. And I said, I know I didn't have to come, but you shouldn't go through this battle alone. Now, obviously she needs to go, you know, get help for substance, and that's not
different.
something that I can help her with, but she knew that she wasn't alone.
Yes.
And so I think when it comes to therapy, mental health, letting people know that you're not alone and that like there are people to support you.
Yes.
Like we need to talk more about that, because suicide in middle school kids, and my son is going into middle school, it's now higher than it's ever been.
Yes.
Kids are feeling so alone, they're feeling so judged that they think the only way out is out.
Yeah.
So I think that being able to have people that are public figures, that are motivators, that are influencers, talk about like mental health.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, because a lot of times people don't ask for help.
I've heard a quote that says that whoever goes to therapy is not someone that is looking to fix their problems, because problems we all have.
Right.
Whoever goes to therapy is the one who wants to fix, wants to work on that.
Right.
Because we all have.
Yeah, everyone. We all have things we need to work on. Every single person. It's just deciding whether you're going to do the work or not. That's the only difference.
Yeah. It's not whoever, I think I said it wrong. Whoever goes to therapy is not because if you go to therapy, it's not because you have problems. We all have problems. It's more because you want to fix them.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful. Having the courage to, reaching out to somebody regardless of the judgment, which I feel that most of the excuse on why people don't do it, like when I sit down and analyze it, one is like money.
Right.
And there's so many resources.
Oh my God, there's so many resources.
Like if you want to look for somebody and help and professional, they are. Money is not, at least in this country.
No.
For that, insurance cover a lot of them too.
Right.
Like, money is not the issue, but it's an excuse.
100%.
Then time, I don't have time for it. We make time for whatever is important for us.
Yes, we make time for what matters.
If you make time to watch a series on Netflix, you have time to go to
I tell everyone, we all have the same 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
You just get to decide what you do with it. That's it.
Yeah.
You get to decide. We all have those 24 hours. No one has 26. We all have 24.
Yes.
You get to decide what you're going to do with those 24 hours.
And I've heard people saying, I tried it once, I didn't like my therapist. Well, pick another one.
Yeah, you know how many therapists are in the world?
There's so many.
So many.
Just you don't click with somebody. I've had that before.
Right.
I went to a couple of sessions. It's like, I don't feel that, I'm getting anything out of it. Let me give another try, then find a second one. It's like, I can see the difference here.
100% agree.
And it's not, necessarily coming with the intention like, oh, that person is going to fix me.
Right.
But there's stuff that you can find out, that you can realize by talking with somebody if it's serving you or not.
Yeah, and I don't believe anyone needs to be fixed, because I don't think anyone's broken. I think that when you go to therapy, when you get a life coach, when you do any of this stuff, it's for someone to give you the tools to help you to work on what's going on within, because we're not broken.
Yes.
And people say that about themselves too. Oh, I'm just broken. You're not broken.
Yeah.
Okay, you just have some things inside that you need to work through.
Yes.
And that's what therapists and life coaches and all these other people in the mental health world, that's what they're there to do, is to support you and be your guide.
Yes.
Because you're the one that needs to do the work, right? They can be there to support you and give you all the tools, but at the end of the day, you have to apply. And you have to be open to receiving and to do the work for you.
That is powerful. And that was one of the, I had a similar experience that when I went recently, it was to work on that, on the emotional part. I don't show emotions. And I come to my therapist and I'm like, look, I suppress emotions and I use it as a self-defense mechanism. It's like, yeah, you're right. You assess yourself the correct way.
Yeah.
I can see that based on conversations and all that. But Brian, you don't have to change that.
Right.
You know, I know that you see it as a superpower, but you don't have to change it. You just got to learn where to use it.
Correct.
The environment.
Correct.
I came to him thinking that I needed to change something about myself. And he's like, you are who you are.
Yeah.
It's more to know when to use those traits.
100%. I agree with your therapist, yeah.
So there's so many excuses. There's time, money, and then the fact that I didn't click. I tried once, didn't work. That is another excuse. Another one is like, I don't believe in therapy. What would you tell people that say that?
And I'll say, okay, do you believe in staying how you are right now? Do you want to live like this forever?
That's good.
Because
that's good.
You know, what don't you believe? And then I'll ask them, I'll go deeper, like, what don't you believe in it? That they can help you, that it can work, that you can heal yourself?
Yes.
What part of it don't you believe? Because you hear that a lot, especially from men.
Yes.
They say, oh, I don't believe in it.
Therapy.
Right? Why? What is the reason? Did you try it and it didn't work? What you don't believe? You have all the tools inside. What part of this don't you believe?
And usually, and when you start going deeper and asking questions, it comes down, or you realize that there's some more of a reason.
Always.
It falls into the other.
Yeah, maybe it's like when I was little, I went to a therapist. There's always, once you like unpeel the onion and get down, there's always.
Or just the simple fact that they don't want to work on themselves.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through it because they know that it's gonna take work.
Yeah.
In finding out stuff that they're not necessarily looking to, go deeper on.
Absolutely. Like for me, when I have people, like especially if I'm helping someone with weight loss and they're not doing the steps, I'll say, okay, this is what I want you to start saying. In the morning, I want you to say, I'm not moving my body because I don't love myself. I'm not eating healthy because I don't want to live forever. How does that? Yeah, and then because when you say that doesn't feel good. When you start saying that, like, I don't want to be around to see my kids. I don't want to stay out of a hospital.
Yeah.
I don't want, when you're saying I don't want to, because now you're choosing, then you're like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Maybe I should try.
Yes.
Because it's you. And so when you put it back on them, they don't like that feeling.
Yes.
So sometimes, a little tough love you got to throw in there.
The emotions and
because it's on you. It's always you. It's what you don't want. It's either what you do want or what you don't want. That's
you connect the activity with an emotion and pain.
Yeah.
People don't want to go through pain. Then talking about pain, that reminds me this quote from Dave Ralio. I don't know if you heard of him, successful businessman, that he says, pain plus reflection equal progress. It's like, some people think that just by going through the pain of going through something, they already have the experience.
Right.
I went through there. I've been there. I already went through a therapist. Like, I know that doesn't work. I already been divorced. I already had a family loss. I already did that. Just because you went through the pain doesn't mean that you reflect on it.
Right. There's a difference.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
The actual progress comes once you reflect on it and
do
take
the
time.
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
That's why, the morning routines, the fact that you get to read, to write in a journal, to meditate, to pray, that's part of the reflecting.
Yes, 100%.
That you bring to whatever pain that you have, the breath work, to be able to bring some sort of progress to your life.
And when you look back, there's a quote and it says, like when you're having a bad day, remember, like, you 6 months ago, you prayed to be where you are right now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you're doing the work and you can't put a timeline on it because that's what a lot of people do. If I don't lose weight, if I'm not happy, if I don't have this job, if I'm not making this month, then I'm not doing it. It's all or nothing. It doesn't work that way.
People don't give themselves enough grace.
Yeah.
It's like, and that reminds me of this concept that I learned from my lad, that you were the one that actually introduced me to him, which is great. He said that about invisible progress. It's like small things that you do every day that when you look at it as an individual task, you know, it's invisible. Yeah. But then when you add up all together,
100%.
That's progress.
100%.
Reading a book, it's like 10 pages a day. It's like, oh, it's 10 pages. But then like after a month or two, we already read the book.
I mean, you know, you did 75 hard, right? 75 so day 1, day 2, day 3, you're like nothing. And then at 75, when you look back at what 70, you're like, whoa, look what I did. Look what I did for myself in 75 days. You don't feel that way on day 3.
No.
Right.
I could say, and I've done 75 hard multiple times.
I know.
It's easier to do a second 75 hard and get into it right after the first one. I could say that 75 hard had helped me to be way more disciplined and has taught me the concept of that, the invisible progress and the small tasks. One little thing that I can implement every day for extended period of time, things add up, you know, and brings that physical change and that mental change too. I mean, I was talking with somebody that is going through 75 hard, probably 15, 20 first days, and she posted something like a meme saying like, after I'm done, this is how I'm gonna be, showing like all the food that she was gonna eat. And I tell her like, I can relate, you know, and I know more than anybody about it because I was in 75 hard on a vacation, on a trip to Europe, Spain, Italy. Imagine being on a diet.
I know.
I love wine, not being able to touch any type of alcohol. Like, it was hard. I won't probably do it again. I want a redo of that trip without any type of commitment like that. But at the same time, I brought back the fact that I was able to do that.
And that's powerful.
You know,
because you showed
I can
up for yourself.
say that I did that. There was a cruise in that trip. Imagine being on a cruise, an open buffet, very good food, and I still, you know, did it. So every time that I find myself like not following a diet or not eating healthy or whatever, I just remind myself like, Brian, you already went through that. You took things through the extreme. Like, and you're complaining because, you know, one meal, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it brings things perspective, and I'm a believer of taking yourself to those streams.
100%, me too.
Because, you know, you carry that throughout your life.
Yep, I believe 100%.
This was amazing.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing, being who you are. I know that you're gonna continue changing life, and I'm gonna be a witness for that.
Well, you too. I've seen you grow so much.
Thank you.
So you should be really proud of all the things you're doing because you're showing up for your life. And even though you say you're not vulnerable, like you're starting to show up that way, and you should be very proud because
it's a work in progress.
Listen, we all are, and it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. And when you look back, months, days, weeks, like you get to see how you're showing up for your life. So you should take time to be proud of everything you've done for you.
Now, if anybody wants to, thank you for that. But if anybody wants to contact you, you know, for help, what you do, where's the best?
Well, you can find me on all social media platforms, Marcy, Marcy.Siegal, Siegal, or on my website, Marcy@marcysiegal.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There you go.